You're not needed anymore, so please go. Why would you say that after everything we've been through? This house is enough. I'm going to live here with my daughter and the others. I worked hard for 15 years to save up and buy this place. I chose a big condo so we could all live together because she wanted to move in. But then my husband stepped in. Why are you surprised? Your job here is done. Thanks for everything up to now. Are you serious? I looked straight at my husband, trying hard to stay calm despite my mixed feelings. Of course, if you don't want to leave, we can get a divorce. Do it quickly. Hearing this, I made up my mind. My husband is unemployed and doesn't understand what would happen if we divorced now. I realized he was a disappointment and I wanted to leave as soon as possible. Understood. If that's how it is, I'll leave. Leave right now, okay? I'd be so happy not to see your face again. They both gave me the ugliest smiles I had ever seen. There was no need to hold back against a husband and mother-in-law like this. I wanted them to feel the consequences immediately, so I sold the high-rise condo right away. My name is Sandra, and I turned 39 this year. I've been married to Robert for 4 years. We used to work at the same company, but we weren't that close. Then 4 years ago, something changed. Huh? Sandra? Robert, is that you? Long time no see. What are you doing here? Actually, I quit my job today. What? Why? I quit because it was finally time to chase a dream I've always had. You know I've been drawing cartoons for a while, right? I finally made my debut. Seriously? That's amazing. Show me sometime. Back then, I didn't have any special feelings for him, but I was happy he praised me. Later, I found out that after quitting the company, Robert started his own business. The last time we saw each other was in our 20s, and at that time, things were going well for me at work. If you're okay with it, why don't we date? That's sudden, isn't it? I think we're really compatible. Robert's confession surprised me, but it didn't feel bad. I was about to turn 35 and thinking about marriage too. But I'm at the age where I want to get married. Then let's get married. What, really? I was overwhelmed by how quickly things were moving. Is that a no? Thank you. Yes. Before I knew it, I had accepted his proposal. I went ahead with it on impulse, and though I was full of anxieties, they proved to be unfounded. You've worked hard here. Want some coffee? Thanks. Another all-nighter? Yeah, the deadline is close. Don't push yourself too hard. Both my marriage and job were going well. In fact, things were so good that I wondered if it was okay for them to be this perfect. Robert understood my work and even took care of household chores when I was busy. There was just one thing that bothered me. By the way, how's work lately? Huh? Oh, it's fine. I've had some free time recently. Why? You've been coming home early and doing all the housework. I'm just doing it because I like to. Don't worry about it, okay? We used to talk about work a lot, but for the last few weeks, he hadn't mentioned anything about his job. I believed him when he said everything was okay and didn't ask more questions. Looking back, that might have been a mistake. Before I knew it, nearly 4 years had passed. My job was going well, and there was even talk of turning my work into comics and animations. Then, I started wanting to have our own home. I've been thinking about getting our own place. What do you think? A house? That sounds great. Oh, but is something wrong? Robert looked down with a regretful expression. I prepared myself, sensing something unpleasant was coming. I know this is sudden, but is there any way my mom could live with us? What? Your mother? She's alone now, and I'm a bit worried about her. Since losing my father-in-law 2 years ago, my mother-in-law seemed to have lost her spirit. It felt like there was a big hole in her heart. I was indeed worried about leaving her alone from now on. Okay, but it will take time to build a house. Maybe a condo would be better. Thank you. Just agreeing to live with her is enough for me. You can decide the rest. Then that's what we'll do. So in between work, I visited various condos since we were going to live together. I wanted something spacious and comfortable. I had savings from 15 years of frugal living. A month after starting the search for a condo, I signed the contract. Today, really? What kind is it? This one. I showed my husband the brochure for the condo I had chosen. I was confident he would be pleased. Is this a high-rise luxury condo? Yes, it is. I thought we might as well. He probably didn't expect me to choose a high-rise. Although surprised, his eyes sparkled like a child who had just received a new toy. Mom will definitely be happy with this. I hope so. With this, A new life, including my mother-in-law, was about to begin, filled with a little anxiety and great anticipation. However, I would soon realize that it was a mistake as soon as we started living with her. Sandra, thanks for letting me stay here. This place is amazing. Oh, it's no big deal. I just did what anyone would do. Everything was fine for a while, but 3 months later, my mother-in-law's behavior suddenly changed a lot. Sorry, could you clean my room? My back hurts. I'm sorry, Mom, I have to work now. Then my mother-in-law said something completely different from her usual kindness. Work? You just stay in your room all day while Robert does all the housework, don't you? Robert and I decided that together. No more excuses. Just do it now, please. I didn't understand why she was acting so differently. All I knew then was that not doing what she asked would only cause more problems, so I cleaned the room thoroughly as she wanted. I'll be in the living room. Let me know when you're done. She didn't help at all and just relaxed in comfort. Why did I have to do this? I felt frustrated. I'm finished. At last, can't you clean a bit faster? I'm sorry. Well, okay then. Please make sure to do it regularly from now on. In the end, my mother-in-law went back to her room without thanking me. I was angry at her demanding attitude, but I kept quiet, fearing more complaints if I resisted. I told my husband about it. My mom? Why would she do that? I'll talk to her. Really? I find it hard to talk back to her. Don't worry, I'll handle it. His reassurance made me feel better. True enough, from the next day onwards, my mother-in-law stopped being so harsh with me. I thought I could now concentrate on work as usual until a week later when I returned home from a meeting. I'm back. When I walked in, I noticed unfamiliar shoes by the door. As I approached the living room, I overheard voices. Hey, where's Sandra today? Oh, she's at a meeting. It's amazing though. She's become a successful cartoon artist at her age. Yeah, it's impressive. Why do you sound so proud? It was Robert's sister, Christina, who was visiting. Just as I was about to enter the room, I heard more of their conversation. By the way, Mom, you've been quieter lately. Oh yes, it's more amusing to knock her down when she feels secure, isn't it? And Robert, you agree, right? Well, if she can't work anymore, it would be a problem, right? Sandra is the one bringing in money for us after all. Oh right. I stood there, stunned not only by what was said, but by the realization that my husband and mother-in-law were plotting something together. From then on, life became unbearable. Did you discuss that thing? About work? I didn't think it needed to be brought up. You always do this. What? What are you talking about? Christina asked innocently, clearly unaware of the conversation's subject. I was also clueless and eager to hear Robert's explanation. Well, it couldn't be helped. Actually, the company I was running went bankrupt shortly after we got married. What? You never mentioned that. That's terrible, Christina exclaimed. I've been through a lot, but I was lucky. I never expected that when I suggested living with Mom, Sandra would opt for such an upscale condo. When Robert admitted this to me, instead of surprise, I felt a surge of anger because I realized I had been deceived. Knowing he had hidden this and acted normal made me feel sick to my stomach. At that moment, I regretted everything deeply. If only I hadn't ignored the signs of change in my husband. But I couldn't dwell on regrets forever, and I started considering when to leave. Maybe it's time, Robert remarked. Time for what? Christina asked. Well, that's for another time, Robert replied casually. Unable to listen any longer, I burst through the door. They were shocked, clearly not expecting me to return. What's going on? I demanded. Seeing my husband and mother-in-law flustered, I almost laughed but held it back. You startled me. If you were back, you should have said something, Robert stammered. I did say I'm home, but maybe you were too caught up in your conversation. I retorted. Well, never mind. Sandra, come sit here. Let's have some coffee together. Yes, thank you, I replied politely, then engaged in meaningless conversation. It felt like it had been ages since I'd endured such dullness. After about an hour, Christina announced she was leaving. I should head home now. You could stay a bit longer. I'd like to, but I have plans after this. Well, if that's the case, I understand. Let me walk you about part of the way. Christina probably sensed my feelings towards Robert and his mother. Maybe that's why she wanted to get away from the situation. As Christina was leaving, I stopped her. Thanks for coming today. Did you have a good time? Yes, Christina replied nervously, as if fearing criticism. Seeing her uneasy expression, I decided it was best to give her a heads up. I wanted to tell you something, Christina. You shouldn't trust them too much. What do you mean? About what we talked about earlier? Christina's expression turned pale as she seemed to grasp that my husband and mother-in-law were the ones I was warning her about. I understand. See you around. From then on, as far as I know, Christina never visited us again. My mind was consumed with thoughts of how to exact revenge on them. One day, as part of my routine, I checked the mailbox and found a letter addressed to Robert. The moment I saw it, I couldn't help but laugh, thinking it might be useful. I'm heading to work. Have a good day. How insincere. Curious about where he was really going, I decided to follow him. I had observed as he idled in a park for a while before heading to a casino. I took photos to have evidence for later use. He was unemployed and yet engaged in activities like this. Who made this awful meal? My mother-in-law's criticism had started again, likely sparked by our earlier conversation. I had been pondering ways to retaliate against her. I made it. Since Robert doesn't cook and no one else could have, it had to be me. How dare you serve something like this? You didn't put poison in it, did you? Clean this up. Her words were harsh, almost refreshing. I was angry, but that wasn't my main concern. Unable to come up with a plan on my own, I decided to call my mother. I was nervous about her reaction, but getting back at my husband and mother-in-law was more important. Hello, Mom. You sound upset. What's wrong? Actually, I proceeded to tell my mother everything that had been happening. I had expected her to be critical, but instead she was sympathetic. So that's what's been going on. You've been through a lot. Her words brought tears to my eyes. But what should I do now? From what you've told me, the condo is in your name, right? Yes, but... And it seems they both like living there. Why not just sell it? Sell it? The idea hadn't occurred to me. My mother's suggestion struck a chord. I started imagining how my husband and mother-in-law would react to losing their home. Life would certainly become challenging for my unemployed husband and mother-in-law. It's actually a good idea, isn't it? It sure is, but it's amazing how you can say that with a laugh. Well, it's your decision, Sandra. Just know that we're here for you. Yeah, hearing you say that gives me more strength. Feel free to reach out anytime. I couldn't stop thinking about my mother's advice. One evening after dinner and cleaning up, Robert said he needed to talk. Following his instructions, I sat down on the sofa where both Robert and my mother-in-law were smirking. I had a sinking feeling about this. So what's this talk about? I asked cautiously. My mother-in-law began, You're no longer needed here, so please leave. Why would you say that after everything? This house is. She interrupted me sharply, ignoring my frustration. Enough. I'm going to live here with Christina and the others. Why with Christina and the others? I asked, recalling the conversation they had at home that day. It seemed this was the fun they had planned. Robert then added, Why the surprised look? Your role here is finished. Thanks for everything up to now. Are you serious? I stared directly at him, my emotions overwhelming me. Fine, if you want me to leave, we can get divorced. Let's get it over with. Upon hearing my words, I made my decision. Robert, being unemployed, seemed oblivious to the consequences of divorce. What a disappointment. I wanted to leave that place as soon as possible, and I had prepared for this moment. Fine, if that's how it is, I'll leave. Leave right now. Fine. I'd be thrilled not to see your face again, Robert sneered. They both wore the most sinister smiles I had ever seen. There was no reason to hold back anymore against such a husband and mother-in-law. I wanted to make them feel the consequences right away. Packing only the essentials, I walked out of the house. They watched me leave, but I felt no sadness or regret. Since we're getting divorced anyway, you handle the divorce papers. I'm not worried about this condo. You can take care of it, I said calmly. Without waiting for the response, I walked away without looking back. They could say whatever they wanted. For now, I decided to return to my parents' home. I'm on my way home. So, you've made your decision? Yes, I might be a bit of a burden for a while. Your father and I are here for you. Take your time coming back. At home, my parents welcomed me with unchanged warmth. Seeing their faces, I felt a profound sense of relief. Welcome back. I'm home. It's been a while since you've been here. Take it easy today. Thank you. That night, I slept peacefully for the first time in a long while. The next day, I wasted no time. I prepared the divorce papers and headed straight to the real estate agent. It was better to sell the condo than to leave it for my husband and mother-in-law, who had no income and would struggle without a home. This condo is in demand. We should find a buyer quickly. That's good to hear. Please take care of it. Consider it done. A month later, the real estate agent informed me that a buyer was interested in the condo. My ex-husband and mother-in-law were still living there, and during that month, I had successfully finalized the divorce. They were now strangers to me, and I eagerly anticipated meeting these two oblivious individuals. The potential buyer wants to view the property soon. Got it. Can I be there for the showing? That would be very helpful. Please join us. The day of the showing finally arrived. As I opened the front door, Robert burst out. Hey, who let you in? Who are you people? Apparently he hadn't noticed me, so I stepped forward. Long time no see. Huh? Why are you here? Funny you should ask. After all, this condo is in my name. What? It seemed he hadn't understood the situation yet. Don't you get it? It means this place isn't yours to claim. That can't be true, he stammered. Then my mother-in-law appeared, which I thought was perfect timing. I decided to confront both of them right then and there. Hey, what are you doing causing a scene in someone's home? Don't just barge in here. I could call the police on you. That should be my line. You two have no right to live here. Talking nonsense won't help you. This place belongs to us. I sighed at their stubbornness. Could you please leave this house immediately? You're disrupting the viewing. Viewing? Why would there be a viewing? Because I've put this condo up for sale. Like I said, I bought this place, so I own it. Robert seemed too furious to comprehend. Even if what you're saying is true, where are we supposed to live? Why don't you go back to your parents' house? We tore down that old house. Oh, that's unfortunate. Stop joking. Robert tried to grab me. Fortunately, I dodged quickly, and he stumbled and fell dramatically. Everyone except my mother-in-law burst into laughter at his fall. If you don't want me to call the police for trespassing, please leave. You're in the way. I looked down at him as I spoke. When I saw his face, he looked like he was on the verge of tears, finally understanding the situation. He then knelt down and begged, but nothing he could do would change my mind. We were wrong. Please forgive us. Mom, apologize to her too. Why should I? Apologizing won't change anything now. Can you just disappear from my sight? I won't ask again. With that, Robert, dragging his mother by the hand, fled like a defeated animal. Watching them leave like that brought an unexpected sense of relief. The viewing proceeded smoothly and the sale was finalized. I informed them both they needed to remove any remaining belongings from the condo. That was my final act of leniency. Later, I received a call from Christina. What's going on, Christina? It's about my mom and what happened. Curious about their situation, since I hadn't kept track of them, I listened attentively. It seems they're living in a tiny one-room apartment now. See, I warned you not to trust them. I've definitely learned that lesson from this experience. It turned out Christina had taken my advice and refused any further involvement with them, which is why she wasn't present during the viewing. From now on, it's best to keep your distance from them, I advised. Yes, Christina agreed, determined to avoid any more entanglements with those two. However, not long after, Robert reached out to me again. Can you lend me some money? Just a little. That's your own fault for gambling and accumulating debt. I found debt collection letters addressed to you by chance. And I also had someone follow you when you lied about having a job and went out. I'm working seriously now, but I still have debts, and it's hard to make ends meet. That's not my problem. Oh, and could you pass a message to your mother? Tell her she got what she deserved. I hung up immediately, realizing they would likely face more difficult times ahead. Reflecting on these events, I considered turning this experience into a comic for my next project. It could